what a wonderful call from USC Delusional. Two national championships in the 70s, 2 decades of disappearing, a national championship in 2004, and now almost another 2 decades of disappearing. My message to you, sir, is know your role. Know your role. Know your proper place. The oldest player on USC's roster had not entered kindergarten when they won their last national championship. Last time I saw USC play Alabama, it was 52-3. So just, when I think of USC, I think of the Song Girls, and God bless the USC Song Girls. They're the best thing west of the Rockies, the USC Song Girls. God bless them. But, our standard is to win the Rose Bowl. Yeah, you know what? USC probably has a great record in the Rose Bowl because they're playing about 30 miles from their campus. I've always hated that. USC last year, empty seats all over the Coliseum. They're like Dodger fans. They're only going to show up when they're winning. They're never there to back the team in the dark years when you really need the fan support, is when you're struggling. They're not there. They disappear. They vanish into the California woodwork. It's better for college football when USC is good. It's nice to have a balance on the West Coast, but know your place. I mean, come on.
Well, J-Dub, I'm gonna stick up. So I've been hard on USC, not unrealistically hard. I've been fair with that caller, and then since then. So I'm going to stick up a little bit for USC here. So throughout the 70s, so you cite 2 national championships. I would give them a third, actually, and I have, but I know that doesn't count. But I'm not big on national championships. I think they're overrated. But anyway, they are valid to a certain extent. They were dominant program, regardless of how many national championships they won in the 70s. They were as good as anybody in the 70s. It's hard to say who the team of the 70s was. Alabama, Ohio State, USC, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Notre Dame all had ridiculous winning percentages in the 70s.
Yes. Yeah, you could. Yes, I agree. There are probably 5 or 6 legitimate arguments for a team of the decade.
Yeah, I couldn't make the call myself. And you're right. The 80s and 90s, I'm not going to say they disappeared. They had a lot of really good seasons in the 80s where they finished in the top 5 to 10 in the nation and won Rose Bowls. But you're right. They did not win a national championship from 1977 or 8, whichever one you give them there, up until Pete Carroll. So if your standard is just, did you win a national championship? That's not how I look at it. But for 2 decades after that, yeah, they had a rough stretch in the 90s. They had some rough years in the 80s. But the 80s, they were pretty damn good. And then, yeah, Pete Carroll shows up. And to say that they won 1 national championship and that be the end statement of the Pete Carroll era, I think is greatly shortchanging what they accomplished when he was there. They were dominant. I will use the word dominant. And if there was a playoff, they would have been playing in the playoff from 03 through 08. They would have played in 6 consecutive playoffs. And now we know what's happened to them since then. They've been irrelevant unless you're into brand names and all that. If you're talking about on the field, they've been irrelevant. They did have one nice season where they won the Rose Bowl, but they've been irrelevant competing for a championship, national championship, since 08. So that's just my take on what you just stated.